Today, I want to talk to you about worry and fear. And there's a difference. I mean, because we worry. Jesus worried. You know, when he's about to go to the cross, he was worried. And he had cause to be. He was about to suffer great. And, you know, I don't know, but I'm pretty sure he was afraid to go. And I don't mean afraid like, oh my goodness, God has left me. He's like, there's a lot of pain there. But there's a worry and a fear that's unhealthy. And when I say unhealthy, I mean spiritually unhealthy. And I'll give you an example. Jesus was worried and fearful about what he had to go through, but not about what was happening. He said, spirit is willing, but the flesh is weak. He knew it was a purpose. And he said, if it's possible, take this cup from me, but nevertheless, not my will, but your will be done. See, his worry and his fear did not impede his faith and his call. He never lost sight of the purpose that God had called him for and what God had promised to him. A lot of us, we don't worry and fear in that way. We worry and fear as if God didn't. In other words, I'm going through this, I'm going through this. I need my job because if I don't have my job, I can't pay my rent. Well, if God said that you were going to be all right, you don't need your job to pay your rent. You don't need an income to pay your rent. God has said he's going to provide it, he's going to provide it. And so what we do is we put onus, we put importance, we put the focus on what God uses to get us things instead of the fact that God is getting them. So in other words, if you say, well, I can't be happy without this woman, I can't be happy without this man, based on your faith in God, you're saying that God can't provide happiness outside of that person. And unless God, promised you happiness through that person or with that person, what you're doing is you're prioritizing that person over God, and your worry and your fear is implicit in your lack of faith in God. In other words, God, I know you said that I'm going to be all right, but if I lose my house, how am I going to be all right? I know you said I'm going to be all right, but if I lose my job, how am I going to be all right? You said I'm going to be happy, but if I lose this person, how am I going to be happy? See, our worry and fear are implicitly saying that our faith in God is limited to the things in our lives and not to God. Because if God says you're going to be happy regardless of whether it's with this person you're with or the next person God gives you. If God said he's going to provide for you, you're going to be provided for, whether it's by your job, by your bank account, or by whatever else God brings in your life. So understand that when we worry, when we fear, when we put limits and say, man, if I don't get this, this is not going to happen, we are actually limiting God. We are saying, God, that if we don't have it in this way that we think, then it's not going to happen. But God is not limited by our resources. God is not limited by our situation. Just like with Jesus, he could use crucifixion as a gateway to resurrection, immortality, and saving the world. God does not have the same limitations and concepts as us. So be careful that your worry and your fear are not conflicting with your faith. And understand, I'm not saying when you go through things and there's pain and suffering that there's no worry and fear. I mean, yeah, if you know it's going to hurt, yeah, you can worry and fear. You can fear the pain, but you shouldn't fear the outcome. You should you can be concerned about the circumstances and your ability to handle it. Excuse me. But not that you're going to make it through it. Because if God said you're going to make it through it, you're going to make it through it. So there's a difference between worrying and fearing about the purpose and the outcome, and worrying and fearing that the outcome is not going to happen. And that's what we need to work on. You can't worry or be fearful and have faith when we're talking about outcome and ultimate happenings. When we're talking about, hey, what's going through? Yeah, if it's going to be painful, it's going to be painful. That's different. But don't discount God with your worry and your fear. Because when you do, you minimize your faith and you root yourself in the problem because it's going to take faith to get out of it. So remember, worrying and fearing like Jesus went through, that's good because he never let it take away from or diminish his faith, his purpose, his calling, or his walk. But at the point that your worry and your fear diminish your faith, your walk, and your purpose, and pull you away from them or have you questioning them, that's when there's a problem. Just a thought.